Hello, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. This is live on YouTube. We're broadcasting live from New York, and we're very curious to see if anybody wanders by and to watch us. I did tell my email list about it, so I know there's quite a few people here. But remember that in Satsang, in this particular meeting, that I do a lot of classes, and there's a lot of things that go on YouTube. But Satsang is not about learning anything. It's not about coming to know things. It's not about gaining information. Satsang is, as Muji puts it, an invitation to step into the fire of self-discovery. And this fire doesn't burn you, it burns everything that isn't you. And we as human beings are uniquely fitted to do this kind of inquiry if we trust ourselves. One of the key ingredients to being able to do true, deep spiritual inquiry is to trust your own inquiry, is to trust your direct observation. You'll find that in all, in true, deep, non-dual spiritual inquiry, there's a conflict between what we're seeing, what we're actually experiencing, and our beliefs about the experience. That is the essence of any resistance you would feel. I mean, people ask, well, I see it really clearly, but everything is still happening the way it was. I'm still reacting. That's right. That's right. All of that can be there. But what are your beliefs about what it is you're experiencing, and what is actually the experience itself? And this isn't hard to pinpoint. This isn't hard to put your finger on. It happens all the time. You know, if you experience something really amazing, right? A beautiful sunset, or driving in the mountains, and suddenly this vista appears in front of you, or it can be even something much more subtle, like just seeing a little kid playing or laughing, or a puppy dog looking at you with the crooked head. There's something really amazing about that moment. And in that moment, for a brief second, everything just stops and it's pure experience. You see a beautiful flower you hadn't seen before. It's been it's been winter for a while. One of these days, a little flower in springtime is going to pop up, and it's going to catch your attention. It's going to take your breath away. Even it's like, oh, there's that moment. And that's pure experience. And then immediately, all of our associations and patterns of thought begin to engage with it, our narration about it. I wonder what kind of flower that is. And before we know it, the direct experience is lost in the interpretation of the experience and the beliefs about the experience. Dismantling those beliefs by appreciating and believing more in the authority of your own direct experience, it is the nature of true inquiry. When you look for yourself, you find that everything that non-dual teachers for all time have said is true. It's not knowledge, it's direct experience. And so if there is a practice to non-duality, it is the practice of inquiry that trusts what it sees and not the beliefs about what it sees. So just let me know if any questions pop up. This is an open forum. This is a place to ask questions. I don't give a lot of just expounding. If I don't have to, if there are no questions, I'll do what I can to stimulate them. But I invite you to bring your deepest spiritual questions to the fore. The kind of things that really matter in your life, the kind of questions you have about God and about life and about what's the point and what is the purpose? What is your purpose? Why do we do all these things? What's the truth? What's illusion? How do I trust what I see? Can I trust what I see? Who's telling the truth these days, and who isn't? What the state of our world? What's the root of the cause of the state of our world? All of these things lead us very naturally into an inner investigation, because it's the eyes through which the world is seen that is most important. People want to know what the truth is, and my answer was, well, what eyes are you looking at it through? You can't know what you're seeing if you don't know who's looking. You know, if the glasses are blurry that you're looking through, it doesn't matter what you look at, you're not really going to see it. You're only going to see images and outlines and stuff. You're not really going to see it as it actually is. We have to clean the glasses. We have to clean the eyes through which we see it. We cannot know what's being seen until we know the seer. And so I invite everyone to turn their attention back towards themselves. And this isn't as hard to do as many people think. The whole point of an inquiry like this, as is genuine meditation, is to remove our attention from the objects that normally engage us and turn it as best we can towards that which is observing the objects. Because that which observes the objects has got to be you. And it's you we want to know. It's interesting, is that I can ask you to describe your car, and you could do so in great detail. Or your children or lover, your home, right? I could ask you to describe your job in great detail. You could probably go on and on about so many things I could ask you about. But if I ask you the question, who are you? Suddenly it comes to a stop. I mean, what could be more important than knowing who you are? And yet, in the scale of things that we look at, we know almost nothing about it. The one that's actually looking, the one that is experiencing their job and kids and their lover and their home and their car. Who are you? Who is it that's actually looking out through those eyes and seeing? How do we find that out? We have an image in our mind of it. Excuse me while I sip on this a little bit. If I ask you to picture yourself, you'll have a picture of yourself, a picture of you probably about anywhere between 5 to 8 feet away, usually probably from the waist up, maybe a little closer, just to look at your face. It'd be an image that you would see on YouTube or a selfie or in a mirror. But that's just an image. You realize that image, when I say picture yourself, when you see that image you're holding and saying, that's myself, you've never actually seen. You've never stood there 5 feet away from you and looked at you. It's always been a reflection. It's always been an image of you from a different point of view, not from here. What do you look like from here? Right here, right where you are. What do you look like from a distance of 0? It's not a clever question. It's an open door to the realization that the view we hold of ourselves is a view we ourselves have never actually seen. Since I've never seen that I've never really seen that image isn't me. It can't be me. It's a perception I have from others. That's others' perception of me, not me. What do I look like from a distance of 0? And of course, you realize that's impossible to see anything from a distance of 0. You cannot step outside of yourself and turn around. Every characteristic, quality, attribute, everything is being viewed by you. Even the most subtle thought that goes by is being viewed by you. Who is the you that's viewing? And you can do this with me as an exercise, like a meditation. You can even close your eyes if you like. And notice that you are seeing your thoughts. Notice that there's something hearing my words. That's undeniable. You are experiencing. And you're experiencing all the time. All the time. Never stops. You don't have to start it up in the morning when you wake up, a little machine, turn the crank or flip the switch and suddenly experiencing turns on. It's perpetual. And everything is happening in front of this place, this distance of 0 where it's being registered, however subtle and intimate it might be. It is but an experience. You experience thought. You experience sensations. You experience feelings. And all the different kinds of thoughts and sensations and experiences. The entire range of sensation from enormous pleasure to great pain. Kinds of emotions from great joy to great grief. And just innumerable kinds of thoughts, associations, memories, impressions, perceptions. You feel impulses, inclinations, tendencies, vasanas. All of this is felt. All of this is seen. All of this is experienced. Who's having the experience? Who is it that is experiencing all of it? In other words, who are you? I don't think there's any doubt that the one who is having the experience is you. Can't get any more intimate than that. The I that is experiencing the thoughts, the sensations, and the emotions must be you. It is what we really refer to with that word I when we remove everything except that. But the I itself, the real you, can you experience yourself? Again, it's not a philosophical question. I'm asking you to look. What is it that is experiencing the thoughts, the feelings, and the emotions? Now, a thought will present itself almost inevitably that it's the body. And it will give you a picture of your body. But that's a picture. It's a thought. something is experiencing the thought, even the thought that it's the body that's having the experience. And the body itself is just a picture in your mind, right? Remember, you've never actually seen it. You've never stood aloof from yourself and seen it. You experience a flow of experience, sensation, emotion, and thought. There's a sensation, a particular type of experience. Thoughts, feelings, sensations are all types of experience. They have a quality to them of experience. The experiencing of them is identical, but they have a different, each has a different flavor, the way an apple or an orange or a bowl of ice cream. Each have a different flavor, and yet they're experienced through exactly the same medium. And so a sensation arises, a feeling arises, a thought arises. We assume that the sensation is arising from this body and that I am this body. But right now, just for fun, check if you can find evidence of the body outside of the sensation of it. The sensations are there constantly. And just close your eyes for a minute and after a little bit, as the images fade away, you'll just begin to have the kinesthetic sense of the body, the kinesthetic sense of this flow of sensations. Is there any evidence in the sensations themselves that there's a body that's producing them? Or are they just an experience? And even if there was a body experiencing it, wouldn't you be perceiving it? Even if there was a body that was generating it, would you not be perceiving it? Is the body experiencing itself? Or is there something else that's actually having the experience that is not in the thoughts, but is perceiving the thoughts? It's not in the emotions or made up of emotions, but is in the emotion, but is witnessing the emotions. That is experiencing, seeing, feeling sensation, but is not in the sensations. Just look for yourself. Just look closely. Now, this is one of those moments, as I said in the beginning, that will challenge your beliefs, because our belief is very strong and very much programmed into all of us that I am my body. And that this body is out there, and that this body is the thoughts, and I am my thoughts, and I am my emotions, and I am my sensations. Or maybe there's a soul or some kind of ephemeral spirit or something that's inside the body. But the life of that is completely dominated by by the physical body. It's dominated by the person, dominated. Your destiny and its destiny are one and the same. I started when I was born and I died when it dies. That's the belief. And that belief is a habit that our mind keeps going back to, because our mind the mind does not want to challenge what is already determined to be true, because every time it's challenged, it feels threatened. It triggers the energy within the system that feels threatened, feels it's unsafe. And so don't be surprised if there's some kind of a reaction. And notice that the mind will want to return to the model that it knew. That's fine. This is what I was referring to as that essential conflict between what you're perceiving directly and what is believed about what you're perceiving. From your point of view, the distance of zero, you cannot see yourself. You cannot experience yourself. You can't perceive yourself. You're not an object that can be known the way we know objects. I could look around where you know your car and your room and your children and your friends. Those are all things we can know and describe by comparison. But your direct experience, this isn't a belief. Your direct experience is that you cannot know yourself. You cannot see yourself. The scale can't weigh itself. A knife cannot cut itself because it won. So it opens up the possibility that the reason we can't perceive ourselves, nobody can perceive themselves, is that there's nothing there to perceive. And that your actual existence is non-phenomenal. It is non-objective. You're not an object. Imagine if space was conscious. And many non-dual teachers will compare awareness, consciousness, as space-like. Buddha referred to it as emptiness. It's empty of any characteristics. So you can't perceive space. Space is completely unknowable. Without some kind of object in it, it's not anything at all. What if that was conscious? What if that's what you were? What if you're not dependent upon the body for life? What if you were never born, never going to die? You just are, not are. You don't exist as a thing, but you just exist. You are existence itself, being itself. Now, I know when I propose such things that there's a resistance that arises from belief that's inherent in the mind. But which looks more true when you're looking directly at yourself? That is, you can't look directly at yourself when you are looking from yourself, which is where you're always looking from. And no matter where you look, what you perceive isn't you. And you cannot step outside of yourself and look back at you. You are unknowable. Wouldn't the best description of that be pure consciousness, pure awareness, the pure witness, the formless witness? Again, I don't even want to put a non-dual thought in your head. I don't want to put a spiritual belief in your head. I'm inviting you to look and to notice that you cannot see the one who's looking. And yet you know that you are. That knowing you are. It's not coming from somewhere. So this is simply satsang is simply an exercise in seeing. It's an invitation to look. to look with pure childlike eyes. Look with no preconceptions, no agenda, no notion that you even already know. No notions whatsoever. We just want to see. So I invite any questions that there might be coming up. Good.
And in case people didn't see it posted, because we forgot to mention it, this is not a format you can interact kind of live or see you, obviously, but it's best to replicate that as you can. If you could describe in some way, it helps if you can describe what's going on with you, why the question is pertinent to you. I've been doing some exercises and this is what I'm experiencing, or this is, I can't seem to wrap my head around this because I've been looking at it, as opposed to just asking kind of a philosophical question, GP. Like that really helps move this in a way that's more useful to everybody. So on that note, we have some questions of that nature. If I live according to my experience, what do I do with people who assert that my perception cannot be true? Later said, I want to resolve family relationships, that bizarre play that no doubt is divine, but I want to experience fully to know myself. So that's I'm assuming that there's a dynamic in that family who are asserting that the perception cannot be true.
Well, did you by any chance press record? I forgot to.
No, but it's recording on YouTube. So.
Okay. Oh, that's right. We're doing the YouTube thing with this. Okay. All perceptions are false. And all perceptions are true from the point of view by which they're being perceived. The world is in the state it's in. Families are in the state they're in. Relationships are in the state they're in because we're arguing over the truth of a perception. That's what's happening in the world. The dominant story is simply a perception. Perceptions, once they become a belief, deny anything that opposes them, filters out evidence that disagrees with it, and on it goes. You can't live without a perception, right? I mean, two people can be standing right next to each other, looking at the same thing, and they're not seeing this, they're not perceiving the same thing. Plus the image that gets formed in the mind of each one. Every object is going to be completely colored. That perception is going to be completely influenced by memories and associations, by the experience of each individual. Little children, infants and animals, see things exactly as they are. There's no filters on them whatsoever. There's no conceptualization. There's no meaning attached to them. So you would say that they have undifferentiated consciousness. They don't really even have a perception. Right? A perception is, in my definition, a perception is a conceptualization. Right? There's the physical experience, right, of I see something, but my perception is everything I then lay on top of that. All the meaning and everything, the object of mind that it becomes, which is one of the 5 skandhas that Buddha mentioned, physical sensation. What was it? I forgot. I forgot now. Yeah, perception, objects of mind and consciousness. Right? So something is perceived, that is sensually perceived. The eye sees an object, but it is the mind identifies the object, and that identification and meaning is what we call a perception. That perception isn't true. Now, in the case where there's conflict, right, even a non-dual perception, when it's presented as a perception, isn't true. No perception is absolute. It is but a perception. The truth is that awareness that moves from perception to perception. A perception appears in front of it and then disappears. Perception comes, hangs around for a while, and then changes, goes somewhere else. The best way to deal with, well, if you're in an environment where you're speaking non-dual spiritual stuff and people's eyes are glossing over, talk about soccer or something. Right? Don't even attempt to try to make a case, to argue something dialectically. Notice, at the beginning of this, my invitation was to look. I'm not telling you what it is you're seeing. I don't want to tell you what it is you're seeing, because anytime I give you that, the mind will grab onto it, make a concept out of it, and create a perception out of that. I'm inviting you to see what's actually there. What's really there is unspeakable. You can't describe it. You can't describe space. You cannot describe yourself. There's no words, there's no knowledge, there's no way you can capture it. It cannot be perceived. So reality is not a perception. Perceptions appear to reality. So when I use words like pure consciousness or pure awareness or Buddha nature or Christ consciousness or God or the I am, when I use words like that, they're only pointers. They're pointing to the actual experience. And the actual experience you're having all the time. You are looking from the place of consciousness. That which is hearing my words and seeing the image and experiencing all the sensations and emotions and thoughts, that's consciousness. That's the word. That, whatever that is what I call consciousness. That's the I. That is, you can't get any more intimate than that. You can't get any closer than that. That which is having the experience. That's not a perception. There are many words that we can use to try to capture that. And the skillful means that Buddha referred to of the teacher was how well you use words and ideas and concepts to point somebody beyond words and concepts. You'll hear a lot of non-dual and spiritual teachers that would kind of rattle off a lot of the words that are common in non-duality, and you can feel that there's no energy behind them. There's no real understanding behind them. That it is a perception of the non-dual that is being presented, and not a pointer to the non-dual, because you are the non-dual. You are not two, right? That's all non-dual means. You're not two, you are one. And you can see that you are one with yourself, and ultimately you can see that you're one with everything that you are perceiving. Because remember, the perceiving and the perceiver can't be separated. So do not let spiritual inquiry become the basis for conflict. Papa G used to be, his advice was very, very simple. Sit by yourself and be quiet. Just be quiet. Just sink into the quietness of it. This ultimate place that can't really be known or described, but it's what you are. So just be quiet with it. When the opportunity comes to engage with somebody whose heart is in the same place, who is looking for the same thing and is humble enough to recognize how to get there means to go beyond perceptions, to go beyond the pointers to what it's pointing, to what the pointers are pointing at, to not take up residence in some concept somewhere. Then the Sangha happens. There's a great interchange. There's a great exchange of love and mutual support. And you both aid one another in your liberation. That's the best relationship there is, when you can do that. But otherwise, just be with people the way they are. I just love the fact that Jesus used to hang out with with the dregs of society. In fact, he was criticized because he would hang out with the drunks, with prostitutes, with the tax collectors in those days. I mean, pretty much the way we see the IRS today. This was the lowest, the lowest of the low, and this is who he hung out with. Right. So it wasn't, he had no perceptions there whatsoever. He's totally innocent, totally accepting, totally loving. People are the way they are. Believe me, if you approach something with just this openness, you'll recognize their perceptions. You'll recognize how they see things and that they're stuck there. And you can have a conversation with their perception. But if you try to go about changing that perception without them inviting you to do so, boom, you've got a conflict. And even the idea that you would want to means that you have a perception of them that it's time to release. There's no need to see them as anything other than what you see yourself. They too are just consciousness perceiving. In that particular case, the patterns of thoughts are very active. They're very and they're going on. They're very dogged, as they are for most people in the world, right? But from the point of view of consciousness, of the awakening mind, you see it for what it is. It's not really them. It is simply the conditioning that they still believe, that their consciousness that is experiencing those thoughts still believes those thoughts. And that's it. That's the only difference. And you can really rejoice the fact that you don't believe them anymore, and that you are on the path, that you've heard the Dharma spoken, you have responded to the Dharma, and you're actually moving towards it. I mean, it's the most blessed thing a human being can do. And stay with it, and those who are open, those who are tired of the world, those who are hungry for a crumb of truth will find their way to your door. And you'll be able to guide them there without giving them a lot of concepts, without making yourself into something special. The ordinariness of it will be just very, very clear. So I hope I didn't go too far afield from the question. It seemed if I wandered off somewhere else and didn't even answer it, let me know, all right?
Okay, so I have another question, which is more on my actual experience and not a philosophical topic. I get that I am awareness, but I have never experienced awareness without objects. I know you're going to mention deep sleep, but I don't experience deep sleep consciously.
Right. So I won't mention deep sleep. Obviously. And yes, yeah. I mean, the thing about deep sleep is we have no memory of it. You can't have any memory of it because there's no objects there, so there's no sense of time or anything. But even speaking about deep sleep in the waking state becomes a bit theoretical. You've never experienced awareness without objects. Okay, you've experienced awareness with objects. What's the difference? The only difference is the mind is using objects, that which is aware of the objects, as a way of trying to conceptualize awareness. Are you aware? It's a simple question. Are you aware? Now, because I can't hear you, I'm assuming your answer is going to be yes. Okay. When, between the time the question, are you aware, was asked, and you answered yes, there's a little gap of time in there, and you went somewhere, you looked somewhere to find the answer, and you answered definitively, yes, I am. Where did you look? Where you looked was awareness. And experiencing awareness without the objects is, you can't experience it as an object. It's a very subtle tendency. It's a very subtle thing going on right here for you, that you're trying to find some objectification of. It has none. And yet, when I ask, are you aware? You answer, yes. Where did you look? Where you looked is it. And see, awareness, when we talk about awareness, I know that I am awareness. Okay. When you say, I know that I am awareness, who is that I that you're referring to? Is it awareness? Did awareness say, I know I'm awareness, but I can't see myself? Notice very subtly, you've created two. You've created awareness and you've created an I that knows that it's awareness. What could possibly be aware of awareness except awareness? So is there two? We have to conceptualize it. We have to make up some kind of an image of us and awareness as some kind of ephemeral quality. I can't see awareness without objects. You are awareness, whether there are objects there or not. So yes, you cannot see it. You cannot see it when objects are there. You can't see it at all. You're it. Now, the resistance you're feeling to that, the struggle with that, is the mind cannot function without objects. The mind is nothing but a collection of objects. The mind is nothing but patterns of thought. I mean, there's no mind thinking. There's only patterns of thoughts forming. And all it does is make thoughts and describe and narrate objects. So it says, I can't see awareness. No, it can't. It is not, because awareness, I'm talking about you, awareness, talking to awareness, is not an object. Therefore, it cannot be seen or perceived at all. And the mind can look for it forever. And it does. That's, for most people, that's the spiritual journey, is the mind trying to find that which it cannot find. It's like the actor on the screen in the movie looking for the screen. In the movies, going all over the world, deserts and across oceans, and climbing to the highest mountain and meeting with gurus, looking for the screen. Is there any real separation between the screen and the actor? The actor is the screen, the way the wave is the ocean. You can't see it. So just notice that there's just this really, that the mind needs to find an object. And what we do in this non-dual inquiry, what we've just done, is gone beyond any object. So your mind is no longer viable. Not just the mind, the capacity to think, but all knowledge, because all knowledge, all human knowledge, is basically a description of one thing in terms of something else. All human knowledge is based on objects and comparisons of objects and stories about objects. That which is not an object is beyond the mind. It's beyond time. It's beyond space. It's not even bound by space or time. The way to bring it home is, I am that. That which is experiencing is it. That is the self, the only self there is. And there's no need to experience it separate from objects. It cannot be experienced at all. It is what is experiencing. It is this. It's not even intimate. It's one. Just keep coming back to this and keep coming back to this, because our habit is to go, is the mind wants to take this and do something with this. It's the habits we all do. We all do it, right? We were trained to do it. It's the way we were trained to discover knowledge and truth. But this is beyond knowledge that could lead to any kind of truth. It is the truth. It's the only thing that's actually 100% itself. It's the only thing that is not relative. It is the only thing that is not dependent upon anything else. It is the only non-object there is. So I hope I'm drawing you closer to it. It's a lot of, for somebody who's this can't be described, I certainly speak a lot about it. But again, it's, it's just, I'm kind of like a little voice on your GPS. No, turn left, turn left. No, not this way. Oop, got to turn around. I'm just trying to steer you in the direction so you eventually see the vista for yourself. I'm kind of like a guide, a tour guide of the city, showing you the sights until we finally get to the big sight, which is the ocean itself. So, any other questions on the queue?
The only other question I see right now is one from the beginning that just says, "How do we feel more of what we truly are?"
You can't. Again, feelings are objects, right? you can't feel. You are the feeler. Just like the eye can't see itself, right? And I refer to perceptions. The perceiver cannot be perceived, right? And we keep looking for some way to conceptualize what we are. And we do it on the level of the heart, level of feelings, which is very valuable, very important. The non-dual inquiry does not dismiss life. It does not dismiss experience, right? It just doesn't identify with what it's experiencing because it cannot be experienced. The experiencer is not experiencing. The one who, is not experienced. The one who is feeling is not feelable. Feeling is an experience that comes and goes, right? There's a really good feeling one moment, and then there's a really horrible feeling the next moment. What's happened to a lot of spirituality, especially in the West, has been this real emphasis on having kind of this perpetual bliss, this perpetual wonderful experience. Personal development and self-help has really propped that up. To be happy all the time. Well, in the depth of genuine spirituality, the happiness is perpetual, is they refer to in Sanskrit as ananda. And what it really is stillness. It is a contentment. It is a sense that absolutely everything is okay. It is not an emotional state. It is a state that experiences all of the emotions. So it may feel enormous grief. Something very precious to you gets lost. If you're spiritual, would you not feel it? Of course you would. Feel it deeply. Matter of fact, you'd feel it raw. You'd have no buffers, no filters, no reframes. There'd be nothing but the pure experience that you would be allowing. And the same is true of joy. So what we really want, what most people want when they go on the spiritual path, is to amplify all the good experiences and to get rid of all of the bad experiences, which of course never happens. And that puts us in a constant conflict with the flow of our lives. So awareness can't be felt. It is that which is aware of feeling. Now, are you aware? It's the same question. Are you aware? Are you aware of the feeling that's here now? It's coming and going. The thought that's here now, or sensation that's going on in your body. And notice how the feelings come and go. Feelings tend to last longer than thoughts do. Thoughts go buzzing by very, very quickly. So they're sustained a little bit longer, but they come and go, right? You're not feeling the same thing now that you did an hour ago. That which has detected, that upon which the feeling registered, that it came, it was experienced, and then it went. Did that come and go? You can't, you could do a little experiment. If you put your thumb and your finger together, just put them together like that for a bit. If you leave them there for a little bit, after a while, you won't feel them anymore. You won't even know that they're touching. Anything that remains the same, the mind just kind of blots it out until it doesn't exist anymore. It's like, when you drive home from work and you get home and you can't remember how you got home. You can't remember actually driving home. Or, and all of the coffee shops that you could pass, right, on your way home, you wouldn't even see them unless you had a desire for a cup of coffee. Then all of a sudden you'd see all of them, right? That statue in the park near your house that you walk by every day or drive by every day. After a while, you don't see it. It simply doesn't register. Consciousness is unmoving. Awareness is unchanging. It is not something that can be detected. It cannot be measured. It cannot be weighed. It is not made out of matter. The current belief in science that consciousness is the emergent properties of the complexity of matter, that the substratum of consciousness is material that can be measured and seen, weighed, and detected, and that consciousness is a product of that, is backwards. Consciousness cannot be detected, except to itself. But it doesn't perceive itself the way it would perceive an object. So I ask, are you aware? You answer yes. How do you know? Well, you just don't know. You just know. Awareness is aware of itself, and it's the only thing that is. Right? Something that isn't aware isn't going to be aware of awareness. It is aware of itself by virtue that it is itself. You just know that you are. Being and knowing are the same thing. At this point, they converge. In fact, even what you experience, you can't know something that doesn't exist. Being and knowing are like this. They're inseparable. Satchidananda, being, consciousness, bliss, contentment, peace. What's peace? Stillness, utter stillness. Space cannot be experienced. Only the objects in space. Space cannot be perceived. And space is the subtlest of all experiences. And yet you perceive space. You're more subtle than even space. So they would refer to the space-like field of awareness, which helps us let go of the idea of ourselves as a form and begin to embrace formless, attributeless existence, what Buddha referred to as shunyata, or emptiness. Emptiness is being, just existence itself, not existence as something, not existence experiencing itself as a feeling or an emotion or a vibration. Deciding whether or not I take this in the other direction. Yeah, what the heck. First, let me ask, see if there are any other questions.
No, I would say go where you were going.
Okay. It's quite natural for us to wonder, what is it that I'm experiencing? When we reduce everything down, when we get to pure awareness that has no attributes, characteristics whatsoever, and yet everything registers there, it's inevitable that we ask, well, what is it that is registering? Everything appears, everything that is experienced, everything that comes and goes is registered by consciousness. Right? Without consciousness, nothing's coming and going. Without the perceiver, nothing is being perceived. We believe that all of this stuff exists independent of my perception of it. And yet, nobody can step outside of their perception and verify that. That is a completely a belief. So, what is my experience actually made of? Well, it's made of consciousness. It is consciousness experiencing itself. When we reduce it, we go to the way of Vedanta, which is what it's called, which is the path of discrimination, the path of self-abiding, the path of inquiry. We go to the place where we see that the perceiver cannot be perceived. Now, what happens then is you disidentify with what you are perceiving. The sense of identity, the sense of who I am, completely withdraws from projecting it on the body, the mind, the emotions, the experience, the life, gender, name, nationality, religion. It comes back out of that. It says all of that is added later. None of that is original equipment. None of that can be me. And I find myself to be the indescribable, unspeakable, the unknowable, pure existence itself. When that happens, I'm no longer identified with this. That's what they call awakening. But now I can turn around and I can look back outwards at all of the experiencing, because experiencing doesn't stop. It never stops. How can it possibly stop? You can't turn it off. Experiencing and awareness are actually one thing. That's why it's called non-duality. It's called Advaita, means not two. The experiencer and what is being experienced are actually one. So to say, how does awareness, I can't be aware of awareness, I cannot feel awareness. Awareness is doing the feeling, and awareness is what is being felt. There's nothing but awareness. How does awareness experience itself? It creates a universe. It creates what we call duality. It spontaneously gives rise to form. Now, your mind is just going to get all twisted about that. Well, I thought you said it was formless. Well, the form is empty. This is the beauty of the Buddha's teaching. The form that you're experiencing is empty. It's not objective. It doesn't exist independent of the consciousness that is perceiving it. It's one with the consciousness that's perceiving it. So consciousness is the field of experience. Consciousness is what everything is appearing to, and consciousness is what everything is made of. Consciousness is the substance. It is the one substance of everything. It is not made up of anything else. It is not made up of any particles. It is the God particle. But it doesn't divide itself up and make objects. It doesn't take itself and split, right? The pantheism idea that somehow that God is the sum total of the universe is God's body. It's more like, I love to use the example of music. Music can make song upon song upon song upon song upon song. Every song is complete and beautiful and wonderful in itself. And that same song could be sung in a million different ways and played on different instruments and put to different rhythms and gone through different styles. And the experience of it just keeps getting richer and richer and richer. Is music contained in it? Does music look at that song and say, that's what I am? Does it say, oh, that's it? You know, we have this one song, that's it. That's all there is for music. And it just sits back there. Does it get entrapped in its own creation? Consciousness, the capacity of consciousness to manifest as the universe is infinite, but never for one moment does it get contained in what it creates. It is the infinite substance that makes everything. You take gold and you can make a beautiful gargoyle. You can make an ugly gargoyle, a horrible gargoyle, right? You can make a beautiful goddess out of the gold. You can like make a chafing dish, you know, a whole bunch of wedding rings. You can even make one of those big buckles they give for the prize for winning the wrestling match or something. You can make it into anything, right? Does that limit the gold? Is the gold now stuck as a belt? Of course not. Just melt it down and make something else. The gold is, figuratively speaking, it's immortal. It is an infinite substance. It has no shape in and of itself. And yet it can take a million shapes, but never for one moment lose its essential nature as gold. Consciousness is constantly taking form. The Buddha said in the Heart Sutra, emptiness is form. Form is empty. Emptiness. This form is empty. The one you're looking at right now. What's animating this body and speaking these words is not the body, nor is it in the body. Christ said, a beautiful example of that, talking about spirit, he said the tree bends where the wind blows, but you can't tell where it's coming or where it's going. That which is animating the body, which you call you, is consciousness. It is not stuck in the body. It is not limited by the body. It is not defined by the body. It does not share the body's destiny. Yet it created it. It is creating it every single second. It is expressing itself in it every single second. The only confusion is that consciousness has identified itself with what it's created. And the I that rightly belongs to the infinite, that is the I that is rightly the great I am, the God of all being, the being itself, has turned and identified with that which is created, as if music had identified with one particular song. It thinks, oh, I am this song. Oh, and there's another song over there. So there's another music. And there's another song. So that's another music. And so now we think that consciousness has divided itself into parts. So I'm identified with this body, and he's identified with this body, and you are all identified, and all these people are identified with it. So consciousness is like all this, not seeing the obvious. There's one consciousness. It's everywhere. It's animating everything. And there's no identity in the thing that's being that is being manifested, that is being generated. The true I is the consciousness that's aware of it. And you are experiencing that every moment. So to return back now, let's go back. Let's let the throbbing, the heartbeat return back to the Vedanta, which is the examination, the inner examination. Are you not aware of it? Are you not aware of all of this? That awareness is all there is. The object of which you are aware does not exist independently of the awareness that is aware of it. That's what Buddha meant when he said emptiness is form. Form is emptiness. To see that as the wisdom, the prajnaparamita, the ultimate wisdom that takes you to the other side. All right. I think that may be enough on that.
Okay. So let's see. One with the incident about your neighbor. I think that's probably best posted on our, this is a graduate, posted on Facebook group. It's kind of in another direction of what a satsang question would be. So
Cool.
this one, okay. Do you have advice on desires that remain unmet? I struggle to let go of them. I struggle to attain them.
I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, very easily. Very easy. It's way harder than you think. First off, you don't have to get rid of them, nor do you have to fulfill them. The problem comes with the identification that grabs hold of the desire and makes it its own. Desires arise, thoughts arise. Does every thought that arises within you take hold? Does it stay? Some thoughts we look at and we believe them and they're familiar to us. They recur. So other thoughts don't. They just go away. Our perception shifts and all of a sudden all the thought shifts. The thoughts that hang around, they don't hang around anymore. Go somewhere else. Trace back the desire. Now, I'm not gonna approach this. A lot of times spirituality in some spiritual traditions, many, they say you must overcome desire. And in fact, true peace is the desireless state. Right? But it doesn't mean that desires don't arise. It means that the desire does not have any identification. You have no identification with the desire. That which comes and goes belongs to life. It belongs to experience. It is the dynamic operation of consciousness. So it's desires going to come, desires are going to go. Do you really need to determine whether a desire gets fulfilled or not? I'm not going to, so I want to be really clear because we're not trying to get rid of desires. You can't get rid of desires any more than you can stop your stomach from digesting food, or stop your heart from beating, or stop the sun from shining, or the wind from blowing. And you wouldn't want to do that. It would just be this empty, what would you do? It would be really boring for eternity, right? This is the wonder of this continual, constant unfoldment of what consciousness actually is. So we want to find out the nature of desires, not just assume we know what they are and that somehow they have to be fulfilled, right? Which means we have to focus our attention and visualize, like the law of attraction, or they have to be transcended and gotten rid of, which is like a spiritual or religious point of view. We need to be disciplined and we need to follow the rules, or we have to meditate and transcend it and go into the state beyond. Right. Trace it back right now. Everybody listening to me, take something that you desire, some desire in your life, trace it back. Go back to the moment it first occurred for you. See if you can find where it originated. And then go look 1 inch or so further. What was there before that desire arose? Did you create that desire, or did it just happen? We say a desire arises and immediately our conditioning says, my desire. Is it? The desire to eat arises. We say, my desire, I want to eat. But is it really I want to eat? No, it's just a desire that's arisen in the body. Same thing goes for sex, for seeking shelter. All of these things, they arise and we personalize them, but they're just life. Right? Every critter feels exactly the same thing. So is it a personal possession? No. So every desire, however lofty, and human beings were gifted with big desires. We want to make a big difference. We want to do these things. Our capacity to expand and evolve is virtually unlimited, which is really beautiful. That's the natural functioning of consciousness. Is it your desire? Personally. And it's something to just look and see. And you find that you can't find yourself creating a desire. The desire just happened. Where did it come from? It didn't come from anywhere, it just arose. Form arose out of emptiness. Simple as that. Something arose out of nothing. It's not really nothing, it's just nothing. The dynamism of consciousness. Just something arose. And that desire is the natural flow of life. I mean, look, nothing happens in life without desire. Right? Nothing. Everything in life is desire. Desire is life. You cannot separate the two. As human beings, we get this sense, this very tight, with consciousness identified as this body, it becomes very, very tight, very, very narrow. And now every desire that arises becomes my desire. I've got to fulfill this. Huge weight gets on your shoulders. And all this pressure. It's just the arising. Doesn't matter to consciousness if a desire is fulfilled or not. Does it mean anything at all to that pure awareness? It sees a desire arise, and it sees a desire hang around for a bit, and then it piddles out. Or it arises, it gains momentum, other stuff gather around, and it fulfills itself, and then it piddles out, right? Desires aren't forever. They die either for lack of attention, lack of support, lack of opportunity, or they die because they fulfilled themselves. It's the cycle of all life. I mean, life itself is desire, right? You are the result of the desire, the lust in the eyes of your parents. the natural consequence of just a desire that just wanted to fulfill itself in the moment, and did, hopefully happily. So the whole thing always comes down to whose desire is it? Which is just another way of saying, who are you? Are you a slave to your desires? Or are you simply the witness of desires? Are you responsible for these desires? Or do these desires come batteries included? They come with their own destiny. And a desire arises. You know, you plant a beautiful flower in a bunch of rocky soil and a bunch of weeds. It may not grow, may not even germinate. Or it may germinate a little bit, the little sprout sticks its head out, but it's too dry, the conditions, the environment aren't right, and it dies. Desire like that. Desires arise. If the environment is right, they grow. If it's not, they don't. The best you can think of yourself is you're the environment. Are you welcoming to the desire? Or are you fighting with it? Are you trying to force it? I really want this flower to grow. I don't care about the soil. Come on, grow. Right? You can't. You can't do anything. You can't control every element of the environment that makes something happen, because desires don't exist independent of the environment. They're a response to and an interaction with and an effect and have an effect on. I mean, it's one system. Life is one system. And you are the one being witnessing that system. When a great piece of music comes to a great composer, or a great work of art, or comes to a writer or a painter, or a picture is seen by the photographer, where does that come from? When they first sit down to write it out, is the whole thing there? They're just kind of taking notes, or is it unfolding to them as it's happening? Right? It's kind of arising as it's going, as it's happening. The point of all of this is to develop a very heartfelt, loving, even romantic relationship with creation without taking responsibility for it. You are not. Consciousness is the creator of all things, but consciousness does not create as an act of will. It is not a human will. One of the big misunderstandings of God, that God functions like the human being functions. God's will is simply God's nature. Mistaking it for the will like a human being means that God likes this and doesn't like that. He prefers this, doesn't prefer this. He's going to reward this one, he's going to punish that one. Human being, the human does that. Then the consciousness identified with a form which limits itself does that. But the ultimate doesn't do that. It's simply arising out of its own nature. The dog doesn't wag its tail as an act of will. Doesn't visualize, doesn't, oh, I have this desire. How do I do it? I need to take tail wagging lessons. It just does it. It's its nature. What you do, what this particular body does, it's just its nature. Its nature is, this particular body, its nature is not playing basketball. Right? or doing tax accounting. Right? It does this. The consciousness is the same. So the question of desire, the desireless state is achieved when desire is totally allowed without a sense of personal ownership or responsibility. And you just let the desire move and fulfill itself, if it can. And if it can't, you say, oh, it can't. And the desire doesn't like that. There's a little bit of resistance, maybe a little bit of grief, and then that desire dissolves. Or it fulfills itself, it has its moment of ecstasy, and then it dissolves. And then another one takes its place. This is the cycle of life. Desires come and go. That which is noticing, witnessing the desires come and go, is that coming and going? That's you. The witness even of desire, even the most intimate, deep desires, that's you.
Okay, that appears to be it.
Okay, very good. So I am doing a class. Do we have a link for that class yet?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Doing a class on Wednesday with Evan. We're co-teaching it. Those of you who don't know, Evan will. It's called Going Beyond Distraction and Discomfort. And it really is about this process right here, right? Where we're I hear all the time, in meditation, I get really distracted. I'm trying to do my inner work and really focus my attention. I find my mind is wandering, or there's a lot of discomfort in my body. There's a lot of resistance to it. And somehow we've gotten the idea that that's like unnatural or wrong. It's like that shouldn't be happening, right? That it's a problem. Right? That idea, that attitude, that belief that it's a problem and that there's some issue with being distracted or feeling discomfort is the only thing we have to deal with, not the discomfort in itself. We don't have to make it go away. Notice you can't make anything go away. That's the whole point. Everything is natural to life. You simply don't identify with it in the same way. If you don't think of it as a problem, it's not a problem. Problems are created by the mind. Circumstances are created by life. Problems are created by the mind, which is interpreting circumstances from a perspective. Stuck in that perspective, what in fact is just life happening becomes a problem that we experience as, what am I going to do about this? I can't meditate. My mind is constantly being distracted. Right. That's what minds do. So I'm doing a class. We're doing a class on Wednesday, 2:30 in the afternoon, Eastern time, that's going to address that specifically. It'll obviously be recorded So if you can't be there live, it'll be available for you. And I'm just going to really delve into this very subject of going beyond it, because it's one of the questions we get all the time. People who are studying inner reconciliation with me, or anything has to do with the non-dual and meditation and the like. I hear it all the time. We're establishing a brand new relationship with discomfort. Remember, distraction and discomfort are interpretations, they're stories about natural occurrences. Discomfort is a word we use to describe a sensation in the body that's unpleasant. Distraction is what we use to describe the focus of attention of the mind not going where we want it to. The focusing of the attention wandering off is a natural phenomenon. Sensations arising in the body, natural phenomena. Distraction, discomfort, interpretations that create suffering because they're not real. Those are just thoughts. We're going to go over that in great depth on Wednesday, and I think Evan has a link where you can sign up. I think the price tag is $37. It's free to anybody who has Inner Reconciliation Level 1. And if you want to buy, and there's a button there that if you want to get Inner Reconciliation Level 1, you get that class for free as a bonus, which I highly recommend. Inner Reconciliation Level 1. It's the way I have found to teach the very thing we've been talking about in Satsang, to kind of prepare the heart and mind for awakening. And then once awakening has occurred, to continue to let it integrate into the entire system until there's nothing left. There's no resistance left. Everything is allowed and you are flowing very naturally in your human life. Even though you've recognized that you're way beyond the human life, you're still, and there's an intimacy, there's a naturalness, there's a beauty, a beautiful flow that is the human life, and will continue to flow for as long as this particular human life lasts. And you'll just see that when this human life ends, you don't end. This is just another desire that has arisen, fulfilling itself, and will eventually dissolve. So that's Wednesday, 2:30. And what's the link?
It's gpwalsh.com/beyond.
Beyond.
I put that in the text, and it'll be on the video description as well.
Cool. Very cool. So, all righty. If there are no more questions, we will kind of bring it to a close for this Sunday. I want to get one last question in here. I'll stay, but if not, then we can just kind of all get on with our day. So I want to thank you all for joining me. Thank you for being here. Those of you who know me know that this is the favorite thing I like to teach. And everything else I teach at Master Heart Institute, mainly Inner Reconciliation, is simply a preparation for this. So this conversation, this inquiry can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until it pierces the final veil and you fully recognize yourself as the pure consciousness. And then, beautifully, that recognition turns around and begins to embrace everything it experiences as itself. And the true not-to-ness, the true oneness of existence is realized as a felt, visceral, experienced fact, and not just as an idea. It's the truth of your being. Now, that's it for today. Thank you all. Namaste.